Welcome to the Dodo Dads podcast, where we talk with real dads who are in the trenches raising daughters and doing their best to get it right. Through honest conversations, shared experiences, and a little humor, this show is designed to encourage, equip, and inspire good fathers to become even better girl dads. I'm Greg Gerber, the founder of Dodo Dads and the father of 3 now grown young women with families of their own. Today's guest is Anthony Woolever. He's a dad raising 6 kids, including 5 daughters, across a nearly 20-year age span. He's navigating a blended family, teenage years, and even life with a newborn all at the same time. In this episode, Anthony shares what it really looks like to be a present, intentional father in a complicated world. First, you'll hear how becoming a girl dad softened him and reshaped the way he approaches parenting, especially after a disciplined military background. Second, Anthony explains why critical thinking is one of the most important skills dads can teach their daughters today. Dads don't need to teach their daughters what to think, but how to think. Third, we talk about independence, including how he lets his daughters make decisions, negotiate real-life situations, and even learn from mistakes while he serves as their safety net. Finally, Anthony opens up about the power of simply saying "I love you" every day, especially in a blended family where those words can make all the difference. This is a practical, honest conversation about raising strong, confident daughters in today's world. To tell us his story, please welcome Anthony Woolever to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Anthony. I really appreciate it. Now, you are a pro at raising girls with 5 of them, but then you stuck a boy in there. Tell us a little bit about you.
My wife and I have yours, mine, and ours. So the 3 older ones are hers from prior marriage, but I've raised them for several years now. Then the next 2 are mine from a prior marriage. That's the 13-year-old's a girl, and then the 11-year-old's a boy. And about 3 years ago, God laid it on my heart to have another child, or laid it on my heart that Jennifer wanted another child. Is really what happened. And I couldn't believe it when she told me she wanted more kids. So we went through all of the excitement to reverse a bunch of stuff and hormone therapy and all sorts of stuff. So we got blessed with our 6th child, Julia, last September.
Oh, that's quite an age group to go from 20 to a newborn.
Yeah. 2018, 16, 13, 11, and 7 months.
Oh my goodness. Was that an adjustment for you to go back to being a father of a baby?
For sure. I would say the sleep is obviously a big one, especially given the fact that all the older kids sleep very well. Sleep too much, probably. The biggest thing is when you have all kids well beyond their toddler years, your home becomes like an anti-baby home. So we have the exact opposite. And even now, thank God she's not crawling yet, but as soon as she starts, which is coming fast, we are not set up to have a baby.
All the kids will leave all their things out. The baby will find them interesting and want to explore them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to learn that you were going to be a girl dad, since the first one that you had was a girl?
I really wasn't sure what to expect, but as soon as she was born, so I delivered her, my heart immediately softened. So growing up in a pretty difficult home environment, and then being in the military for 8 years, and then leaving the military and having to focus on my graduate studies, there really wasn't a lot of time for, we'll call it fun. So I developed just a very rigid approach to life. And it took many years even after she was born, but that was the first crack in my shell. Was her being born and holding her and just realizing what a blessing she was, and the importance of being gentle with her and loving and things like that. So that was the first crack of many that I've experienced since then.
The same happened to me as well, holding my firstborn in my arms. It just changed my entire life. Having her staring in my eyes was like piercing into my soul, say, "Buckle up, buddy, we're on a ride."
Yes.
Yes. So you delivered your child?
Yeah, I delivered her, and then that was in a hospital setting. And then our youngest, Julia, we did a home birth, and we had a geriatric pregnancy and everything, and we still chose to do everything as naturally as humanly possible. My wife was absolutely incredible. Jennifer did an amazing job, but I delivered her, first person to touch her. There's a photo of about 3 minutes after she was born where I catch her. I'm just blown away by having this little baby in my hand, and then hand her to the midwife, then dry her off, and then we sat around Jennifer's, and very quickly after born, it was within 3 minutes, she was looking up at both of us. So it was so cute.
That is neat. Yeah. How cool. I know when my daughter was born, she arrived quickly. and the doctor had not made it to the hospital yet. And the nurse was
Oh,
afraid
wow.
that she was going to have to catch it. So that was an amazing experience, though, to be part of that and witnessing that new life.
Mhm.
And, yeah. What are some of the things that your daughters like to do?
3 of the 4, I'm going to exclude Julia because she likes to tear stuff up. That's her favorite thing. 3 of the 4 of them, hair, makeup, nails, those are those things. I'm very blessed in 3 of them, a different set of 3, really enjoy intellectual conversations already. We have one that's going to school to be an engineer, one that is going to school to be a lawyer. The 13-year-old wants to be a lawyer. So there's very deep, what I would consider I almost said more meaningful, but deeper conversations about life, because those 3 things really affect a lot of things. The other one, our 16-year-old is looking at teaching, that type of thing. So, and she's just very undecided right now, but those are the things they like to do. And then when we do get one-on-one time, which is difficult, it can be a variety from, we really like playing games as a family. That's a big thing that we just enjoy doing. We try not to be a device family. I think it's very important to connect without the devices. So
how old were the oldest girls when they came into your life?
Let's see. They were either 12, 14, and 10, or I'm sorry, 14, 12, and 10, or 13, 11, and 9, but I think it was 14. Okay. 14, 12, and 10, yeah.
Okay, very good. Was it an adjustment, or were you pretty well welcomed into the family?
There were adjusting periods. There weren't very many healthy male figures in their life. And what probably made it even more difficult was I came into life right before COVID started. And my wife is a nurse. And I am at the risk of being too political, I'm a pretty hardcore libertarian. I have conservative leaning values. I have some liberal values as well, but when it comes to politically, I'm very libertarian. So my stance pretty much across the board is the government should just not be in my business. So I took a pretty hard-lined approach to COVID, and I didn't know at the time that Jennifer, my wife, leaned much heavier liberal, while I'm, like I said, overall, I'm pretty conservative in my values. That was probably the biggest adjustment. Mm-hmm. Is there was a lot of, they just went along to get along. Their birth father was in the military. So there's be seen, not heard type of environment in the military. And then it's my understanding he was a bit of a follower. I'm just naturally more of a question. I question things. So there was a lot of, I just don't understand the big deal. It's just a mask. It's just this. It's just that. It's so much more than that. So that was the biggest adjustment, is just everything all at once was very different very quickly. And because I don't support that sort of overreach, it was interesting, but it allowed for a lot of very good conversations. Whereas if you took that experience away, I think it would have been very easy to just kind of go on without realizing the importance of having some of these conversations. And so COVID allowed, especially living in a state like Illinois, which was very hardcore with the lockdowns, it allowed conversations to take place that would not have been possible elsewhere. Or at other points in time, yeah.
So they were still accepting of you at that point?
Yeah, like I said, not right away. There were some family members that were not supportive of Jennifer and I's relationship, and they got the kids involved and stuff like that, which is very unfortunate. Kids should not be involved in that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I showed them what a committed father looks like through my actions with Ari and Ethan, just being present with them every single day, showing up for them every single day, even when we couldn't physically be together. There were times where we'd be having dinner, Jennifer and 3 girls and I'd be having dinner. And the kids, would have talked to the other 2 kids yet. And no matter what, if they called, I answered the phone. And no matter what, I connected with them every single day for at least 5 to 10 minutes. So they got to see being a dad isn't easy, but it also doesn't have to be the most complicated thing in the world. And unfortunately, their experience through multiple generations of fatherhood, both my wife and her relationship to her family, their relationship with their birth father, all the guys just make it seem like it's the most complicated thing in the world. And just asking how your day is and having a basic conversation, there's nothing complicated about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, do the kids all live with you, or are they living in separate homes?
The two with my ex-wife lived with her, and then Madeline, our oldest, is at college. She'll be back in 2 weeks. Meredith will go to Champaign in 3 months. And then when we relocate to Florida in about a year, our 16-year-old will come with us. And then, of course, our baby.
Okay. And what's the relocation to Florida? Just tired of Illinois?
I am tired of Illinois. Ultimately, I formally met at the N conference. We'd connected probably years prior to that. But so at the N conference, I met a realtor there, Lele Wallman. She's a realtor in the Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida area. And we just hit it off. I helped her and John, her husband, with just some basic things with one of their children. And we maintained that relationship throughout the year. And then heading into the second conference, some stuff had happened here at home. And we decided, we knew that we did not want to raise Julia here. So then it was, okay, where are we going to raise her? The timing, everything. And some things happened. It's just, okay, we're going to make that decision now. So I reached out to Lele, and she sent me a whole slew of properties. And it turns out that out of about 40 properties that she sent me, there were only 2 that I said, I absolutely want to look at these 2 properties. And then we made an offer a week later. So long answer, but I would say on a full-time basis, 3 of them live with us currently. And then the summer, there's always a bunch of more going on during the summer.
Okay. How do you encourage your daughters to try new things?
I ask them to put their phones down. I would say just explore your curiosity. We tend to really focus on having our children just have a natural curiosity and ask why. There's a word that escapes me right now that is more specific when we're actually having conversations. Why I cannot remember right now. But we just want them to explore their curiosity. If there's things that they're interested in, more often than not, we have them set things up because I think it's important for them to learn how to make connections. I'll oftentimes do the research and kind of find out the key stakeholders or the important people to talk to, but I won't make the phone calls for them. And that's pretty much across the board, whether it be buying a car, college, things like that. They have to do the expiration phase. Just encourage them to do things. Like 2 of them had never played tennis before, and 3 years ago, one of the coaches reached out after he found out that Meredith wasn't going to be playing basketball. And he said, hey, would you be interested in tennis? And neither had been ever swinging a tennis racket in their lives. And they've been doing it one for 3 years, the other one for this coming fall will be 4 years. And she absolutely loves it. Just exploring the things that interest you.
That's neat. It sounds kind of dangerous, though, to be encouraging daughters to ask questions. But I can see the reason why you want to do that. Mine were always asking questions anyway.
They ask, oh, trust me, there's plenty of questions they ask. Yeah.
That's wonderful. There's nearly a 20-year gap then between your oldest and your youngest. So what do you do to prepare your daughters for independence?
So our oldest really had no issues with independence. She could not wait to get out of her house. I try to get them to be very vigilant when it comes to safety. There are safe places in the world. There are some pretty evil places in the world. And one thing I don't like to see is, and this happened with our oldest a lot, is just the AirPods in, blaring music, and you're completely ignorant to the rest of the world. I try to be very diligent in getting them to understand you need to be aware of your surroundings. And if you're in a brand new place or not one where you know every single person around you, one AirPod will do. You can hear the same information going in with one as what you can too. So that's a big one.
Did the girls take defense classes?
Unfortunately, in this area, it's just not.
Okay.
There's just not a lot of that. If there was, then I'm sure that's something we'd be looking in. 2 of them have expressed interest, and that would be more opportunities at their colleges that they'll be going to. Mm-hmm. Other things we do through encouraging independence is by having them do some of these things on their own. I know what's a bad deal, what can be a decent deal. So they negotiate their own loans for their cars. I think Meredith got hers at 17. Yeah, just before her 17th, and Madeline was just before her 17th. Really all that. I can do it for them, but I don't want when they're 24 and 28 and 32, hey, Dad, can you give me your advice on this? I would rather that be the conversation as opposed to, hey, Dad, can you fly here and do this for me? Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. So because you've got such wide age gap between the kids, your conversation style has to change constantly. Do you have any tips for having those kind of difficult discussions or even good discussions?
I would say as a family, if it's more specific to one child, we try to have the conversation with that individual child. If we feel like there's benefit from the other children being present for that conversation, we have it. Even if it's directed at one person, but the other 4 or 5 can benefit from it, we try to have it with all of them. College has been a big one because even though we're not pushing college, one of the best things about living in the state of Illinois is the kids get to go to a state-funded school for free with my military background and Jennifer's. So while we're not pushing it, we don't want them to waste that opportunity either. So we do lots of conversations as a family in terms of college, how to fund it, how to maximize these benefits that are entitled to you through me. We have lots of financial conversations because these are things, we have lots of investing conversations because these are things that whether you take an interest in it or not, it's coming for you. We have lots of spiritual religious conversations, lots of political conversations. I would say anything that I would rather my children be programmed by me than by the world. So we really have conversations, and for the most part, even our boy, most of the conversations are mature enough for them to be present for. Once in a while, it's definitely, okay, you two need to go to your rooms. And in disciplinary type conversations, like I don't think it's appropriate to include everyone, but fortunately, our children are fortunately they're very good kids, so we really don't have to address that too much.
You had mentioned that some of them have already expressed career aspirations. Are there any kinds of things that you are discouraging them in pursuing?
Military is a no-go. We won't let our children join the military.
Okay.
That's a hard no. I am, and Jennifer and I are veterans, and we support the military and the people who have served. We don't support how the government uses the military. The government uses the military like they're pawns on a chessboard, and my kids are more than pawns. They're not pawns on my chessboard. They're my life. That's one thing that we're adamantly opposed to. And then there's certain, I wouldn't say careers that we've discouraged. There are definitely degrees that we've discouraged. Degrees that, and this isn't a knock on anyone who gets one of these degrees, but business degrees just don't make sense to me. And I even have one. I have an MBA. I don't think they make sense because most of those classes are being taught by someone who doesn't run a business.
Very good point.
And we also don't take advice from people who don't have the experience. Madeline got in a situation at college where she had a professor who had a bachelor's, master's, and a PhD all in mechanical engineering, which I think is great. I have no issues with that. He had never once, not one single minute of his career had been spent actually doing the job of a mechanical engineer. Okay, you have no credibility then. Just because you can whip together information on a piece of paper and submit it to a professor, that doesn't make you competent.
It's like the people who have theories about raising children and have never raised a child, right?
Yes, 100%. And I don't think those people should be dismissed altogether, but you have to put yourself in the environment and this professor hadn't. It was very clear. I can't think of any other careers we've truly discouraged of the military. Even law enforcement, one of our children wanted to get a degree in criminology and criminal justice, and we discouraged that as a degree just because we teach the kids, what are you going to do with the degree? If it's not teaching you a skill set, then what are you going to do with it? And with criminal justice, a lot of people do criminal justice and then become a police officer. You don't have to have a degree in criminal justice to be a police officer. You can have no degree. You can have a degree in English. It doesn't really matter. So to get a degree that really doesn't benefit you at all, we discourage that. Like our Meredith wanted to get a degree in criminal justice. And I said, I'm not trying to attack you and attack anyone who does, but that's beneath you. You can achieve something bigger than that degree. And she went from that to now she wants to double major in multiple things and pre-law and all this other stuff.
When they were expressing interest in a particular career field, did you do anything to encourage them in that? Set them up to learn more or introduce them to people who are in those career fields?
Meredith just did a job shadowing last week with the state's attorney, the assistant state's attorney, and then spent a day in court last week. and got to meet with the judge. We just have a small community, so there's just one local resident judge who happens to be the father of Macy, our 16-year-old. Her boyfriend, his name is Luke. His dad is the judge. So she got to ask them tons of questions. Joel, Judge Fallis, is just a super down-to-earth person. Phil Givens is a great state's attorney. She had some good job training experience with them. I typically, when our kids tell me they want to do something, I challenge why they want to do it, just to make sure that they understand why they want to do it. I don't care why they want to do it. I want them to do something they enjoy. We do teach our kids that just because you get a degree in it doesn't mean, or this is what you want to do now, doesn't mean this is what you're going to be doing 10, 15, 20 years from now. My wife and I have 6 degrees between us, and we use our nursing degree. Otherwise, we use none of my degrees. And just statistically speaking, a lot of people don't end up doing what they went to school for. And law is one of the top things that people end up not doing that they get degrees for. And then with Madeline, she is very much self-motivated to figure some things out. Sometimes we kind of have to guide her a little bit, which is a parenting responsibility. But when she's kind of locked in, she goes and gets it. So she's going to school being an industrial engineer. Even after her freshman year in college, she got her own internship. She's about to finish. Technically, it's her junior year now. But both summers after college, she has internships with reputable companies. She's going down to Texas this coming summer for an internship with Ecolab. She'll do great with it. So she's doing great. And because we didn't really want her to go to U of I for multiple reasons. We just thought SIUE was going to be a better fit for her. And one of the reasons is because she had such an interest in internships. And while U of I is a prestigious school, there's just not a lot of manufacturing in Champaign. That college is everything in Champaign. So there's just not a lot of opportunities for industrial engineering. We were doing campus visits with Meredith, and I ran into some IE students and could not believe that we had a daughter who was a sophomore that had already done an internship. They were heading into their junior year and had no prospects. So it became very clear that she made the right decision.
That is really neat. Now, because you're a blended family, did your stepdaughters have any problems opening up to you with their concerns and worries?
So at that same retreat, when God revealed to me that Jennifer wanted more children, another thing that was revealed to me was I almost never used the term stepdaughter.
Bonus daughter.
But for my bonus daughters. And I have since adopted one of them, and the other two, it's up in the air right now. But the bonus daughters, it was revealed to me that they needed to hear I love them as well. Because I told Ari and Ethan, but I wasn't sure where those lines were because I was raised in broken homes and just wasn't totally sure. And that's probably the one thing I wanted to convey today is, even though they're not my blood, they still need to know, especially as the primary and sole male figure in their life, they need to know that they're loved. So when I finished that retreat, I came home, and that was 3 years ago in July. And there's not been a night that I've not told them I love them. And when they were physically available, have them and tell them I love them. Oh. So that's been I had a good relationship. The 16-year-old and I've always had a good relationship. We're just so much alike that it can be good and bad. The older one, Macy and Meredith, there are times when they're a little distant, but they're like that with everyone, not just me. But they know I love them, and they tell me they love me. That, and not getting over what they may think about me and getting over what other people may say, and just doing what I thought was right, which is telling them I love them every day. That has made a world of difference. They became different. And they were great kids, girls before, but it's made all the difference in the world.
That's neat. You said they didn't have a lot of positive role models growing up, so you became that one and spoke into them the truth that they've always needed to hear. Even
to this day, like when it comes to, if they want to kind of get pampered and things like that, and kind of want their ego fluffed a little bit, they go to mom. But if they want some honest advice, it's me. Jennifer kind of jokes around once in a while. I don't even know these things. They come to you with all the important stuff.
That's funny. How do you try to listen to your daughters without fixing them?
Okay. This was hands down the thing I struggle the most with.
Most of us do.
Yeah. I do a pretty poor job of this. It is very difficult for me just to kind of sit back and watch certain things unfold. The approach I would say I've taken is I'll give you enough rope to just not hang yourself. And really, we've only had to use this a couple times. And it was a very uncomfortable. That one of those specific times was with our oldest and how college was going. And it was a very stern conversation, but she needed to understand what this unnecessary decision was doing and what was the impact it was going to have on her whole collegiate experience if she didn't. She wasn't making a bad decision. It was just she was working a job she didn't need to, and that job was costing her the ability to pass classes, yes, which then has an ongoing effect.
That happened to my oldest. She got to a point in her freshman year where she failed a class that was a prerequisite for another one, which was a prerequisite for another one. And she wound up being at that school, private Christian university, for 4 years and never got a degree because she was already always one class behind from getting the next class she needed. So that's a good decision.
It was a hard conversation, but she made it. She was not happy when we first had it. I still remember it was actually a year ago this month, almost a year ago this week, because it was when we were getting our one and only ultrasound with Julia. And then the big thing is listening when it comes to the drama with friends and stuff like that, because I'm naturally just, you don't need this crap in your life. Just walk away. And that's not what they always need to hear. I did a surprisingly good job. There was an issue this last week, and I just listened to her. Just yesterday, she was upset, and several of our girls will ask the question, why me? What is it about me that causes people to treat me this way? And I just said, people are bags or scumbags. It's just unfortunate that you're finding it out now. And their character is not a reflection on you. It's better to know now than to go into adulthood or go into college and thinking that they're this great friend when they've been betraying you the whole time behind your back.
That's actually good that it is happening now, because you're still there as a safety net, whereas she's out on her own. And then all of this happens when she doesn't have a support system around her to correct lies that are being told or that she is feeling she's hearing. So I think that is probably a good deal that it is going on right now.
Yeah. But overall, Greg, listening is not my strong suit. What I find is the easiest for me is when listening, or when them talking is them expressing their frustration, I do a much better job. But when venting or when them speaking turns into just complaining, then I kind of go into solution mode. And usually the solution is just avoid those people. And sometimes they just don't want to hear it.
How do you balance a desire to protect your daughters with a desire to ensure that they are independent?
I think we focus on the skills they need to be productive members of society. Critical thinking, that's the word I was trying to think of earlier. We really make sure that they use critical thinking skills. I don't expect them to be Republican or Democrat or independent, because I am one of those things. I want them to figure it out on their own. I want them to ask questions. So the things that are going to help them become, like I said, productive members of society, we very much focus on that level of independence. I am a fierce protector of my family. I have been arrested for protecting my family. I did everything I could through the judicial system and the legal system, and it still wasn't being done appropriately. I took things into my own hands. And if I had to do the exact same situation again, I'd do it 100 out of 100 times the exact same way.
Okay.
So a lot of people say they do anything for their kids. I actually disagree with that statement, because I think most people won't sit their remote control down for their kids. They won't put a bag of chips down for their kids. I would truly do anything for my kids. So I struggle to say where that separation is. I would say it goes back to what I said earlier about giving them enough rope to just barely not hang themselves. Once I realized that, okay, we're about to hit the point of no return, now I'm going to step in. It's still going to be your decision, but you're going to own the decision. You're just going to know all of the ramifications of this decision, and then you can make it. But you're going to know every single detail of what's about to happen.
That's smart.
Good and bad. So I would say that's kind of how I handle that.
Okay. What are some of the most important values that you think dads need to instill in their daughters today?
Critical thinking across the board, son or daughter. I think it's the most important thing in society right now. Just because
how to think, not what to think.
Yeah. And I tell the kids this all the time. And there's plenty of things that I'm teaching you kids today that you're going to disagree with me, and that's okay. And I even say there's a few of these things I hope you don't disagree with me on, but if you do, that's okay. Values. Managing money is an important one. I spent so much of my 20s accumulating debt and so much of my 30s getting out of debt that I kind of feel like I'm at square one in my 40s. So we really value money as a tool, and there's ways to get money to work for you, and you don't have to be a slave to it. What are some other, and then picking a spouse, like Jennifer and I have been divorced. We both had unhealthy marriages, for the most part, no healthy marriages and divorce. So we tend to ask a lot of questions. Again, just, is this what you want? They've all dated at various points, the three older ones, and it's been very different for all three of them, but making sure that they're asking the right questions, not just being in la land because they're up 11 and stuff like that.
That's a good idea to get gals to start thinking about who their future spouse is going to be, the qualities and traits of what that person is going to be like. So when Mr. Hottie shows up on the scene, they can quickly evaluate, no, this is not spouse material. I think I'll pass on that one.
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
That's good. How do you convey a sense of worth or self-confidence to your girls?
Yeah, I think by telling them I love them and hugging them the way I do. I try not to, I do tell my girls that they're beautiful and things like that, but I try not to make it about just the beauty aspect of it. We tell the girls I'm proud of them, but we specify this decision. 3 of our four girls have stood up to bullies, and I've done it in a way that they lost a lot of friends. One of which still deals with the blowback from that decision she made maybe even 6 to 8 months ago. And I'm still very proud of her for making that decision. 1, it showed her true character. 2, it showed the character of these people that she was hanging out with. But 3, she stood up for principle. And my hope is that she takes that lesson in the positive and says it's worth it to stand up for others. Unfortunately, sometimes at a younger age, the impression, they're so impressionable that it's like, this is what I get for standing up for other people. So I'm just not going to do it. And that's always the concern. But we tell them I love them every night and that we're proud of them. And I think I don't think we have all the answers when it comes to that, but knowing when we validate specific things, I think it elevates their self. Madeline can struggle from time to time at college, and we're not proud of her because she got an A in calculus or whatever. We're proud of her for the effort that she puts in, and she works her tail off. She's going to do great.
That's good. They need to hear that. Do you have any special rules for cell phone or internet use?
So we don't use the Bark app. I wish we did. I could come up with 100 excuses why we don't, but I wish we did. The big things that excessive use we're opposed to. One thing that doesn't really help is our school system allows cell phones in the classroom. So, which by just yesterday, a 13-year-old said, "Can you believe that some people are trying to ban cell phones from schools?" And I'm listening to her and she's just going rage venting about it. And I'm like, "Aria, would you like to know how I feel about it?" And she's, "Yeah." So I'm going to answer your question first, which is, as far as I know, there's no movement in the state of Illinois to ban cell phone usage in school. I definitively know that there's no movement whatsoever in our particular school board to ban cell phones. However, Aria, if it was my decision, a cell phone would not be allowed to enter the school. That's how I feel about cell phones inside of school. Those Chromebooks that you have in the classroom, they should not be in the schools. I don't feel like electronic devices belong in the school system, period. You can use a calculator and that's it. So that was a fun conversation. She's like, "Oh, okay."
Was there a particular age when you allowed your daughter to get a cell phone?
So the 3 girls all got them with cell service at 7th grade. So it would have been 13. Aria had one, her mother allowed her to get one a little bit younger than that, probably 11, I would say. I personally am a proponent of, like Julia, we'll see what the world looks like in 15 years, but it would be my belief she's not going to have a phone until she's 17 or 18.
Okay. Was there something about 13 that'll made them get it. I did that with my daughters. They could get their cell phone the moment they got their Red Cross training for becoming a babysitter because they were going to be alone with these kids. And if they had a problem, I needed them to be able to call. So we gave them.
So that's solid. I would say the real ultimate reason is convenience from parents. And I would say that's the reason most parents let their kids have cell phones. I think what you just said is a very noble reason for children to have cell phones. I think most parents, it's a convenience thing for the parents. Like one excuse I heard recently was, I need to know when they finish practice. I'm sorry, practice is from 3:30 to 5:30. They need to call. No, you practice ends at 5:30. You're just there at 5:30. They don't need to make a phone call so you can drive the 2 minutes. That same 2-minute drive is 2 minutes. We're not talking about a metropolitan city here where you're trying to you're trying to avoid rush hour by 10 minutes. I would say we fell into that same trap of convenience.
Do you allow unrestricted internet access?
I do not. No. This is probably the one thing we monitor the heaviest, and it becomes annoying from time to time, especially even with our 18, she's still in high school, and we will treat you like you were in high school. And once you're graduated from high school, we will treat you like you were graduated from high school. And unfortunately, she gets made fun of, which again, is a reflection of the character of the other people, not on her. But we have the restrictions set hard enough to where they can't access many websites. And the reason I say it can be annoying is I'm a pretty avid Joe Rogan podcast listener, and I think he has a lot of very interesting guests on. I don't listen religiously like every single episode, but when he has an interesting guest, we will oftentimes send that to Meredith. And sometimes if it applies to the other girls, we will. But sometimes her phone restrictions are so restrictive that she can't listen to it on the podcast player.
Okay.
So that can be annoying, but there's always a workaround.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about sleepovers? Were your daughters allowed to participate in those?
So we've had a few here. They haven't done, because of how busy they are and whatnot, there's not a lot that they do elsewhere. Or 18-year-old Meredith, she's the one does the most, either people here or her going to people. She's just a very extroverted person. And we've met all of them, met families. I'd trust those situations. When it comes, we live in a very small community. Pretty much everyone knows everyone. When we moved to Bradenton, and then Julie is a little bit older, it's definitely going to be a different conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about dating? Did you set up any special rules for dating? One just about coming into that age group, and 3 that should probably be heavily involved in it by now.
So this has been difficult as a father. So one thing we do is we don't, like when they're here, and like boyfriends are here, they're not allowed in bedrooms. Like all the bedrooms are upstairs anyways. And then what naturally happens is we're just going to go to boyfriend's house, and we have a pretty good intuition as to why. And my wife's intuition is out of this world when the girls are doing something they're not supposed to be doing. Like I said, fortunately, we just had to catch them a couple of times, and that snap came out of that. But we found that they like to go to boyfriends' houses for a little more freedom, and eventually we found out why. And we nipped some of that in the bud to the point where we're contacting other parents saying, these are our rules. If our daughter can't follow them there, then they just won't be there. We found out our 16-year-old was in a hot tub with her boyfriend, and we said, nope, because they have a hot tub over at their house. And we said, no. And how I found this out is it was winter, and there was a swimsuit in her back seat. And I came into my wife, I'm like, hey, why don't you have a swimsuit in there? She said, I don't know. And then we asked her, and it was, just kind of this casual. And I said, no, not again. I said, get your swimsuit out of your car, get in here. And if this happens again, you won't be going over there ever again. So once I kind of find something out, unfortunately, a lot of times that can be too late. But the big thing is no rooms. They have to be dating for a while before we allow them to go out of town, which really sucks because there's nothing in this town. So to do really anything meaningful, you do have to leave town. The girls, fortunately, choose to gain our trust very quickly. And they don't do a lot to ruin that trust.
Do you allow group dating?
Only one of them has done that. I'm not opposed to that at all. I would probably prefer them go hang out in a group of friends. One Meredith got really tunnel visioned with one of her guys that she'd been dating for a while. And I told her, I said, if this doesn't work out, you would spend your whole high school career just hanging out with this guy. And you don't want you don't want to look back on high school and him be it. And he's a great kid, but I didn't see any potential in their future. There was just way, way too many differences. And that's where that, going back to one of your earlier questions, how do you listen versus speak into their lives? Like, I was so over the top about this guy that I think she somewhat dated him just to kind of reject me. But then she turned around, she started dating another guy, and she dated him for just a few months. And she said, I'm just doing this to fill my time, and it's not worth it. I'm going to look back and there's going to be like this void here. So she's taken away the bigger lessons.
Did you make any parenting blunders, or were there any embarrassing moments that actually taught you a lesson?
I've made lots of blunders. I would say the biggest blunder is it's really easy to, I think it was Paul David Tripp who says this, but hurt people. And it could have been someone way before him. So it's really easy for someone who experienced childhood trauma and then went to the military and kind of ruled with that kind of rule with an iron fist in the military. It became very easy for me to kind of be very over the top very quickly. And it's taken a lot to come back through various types of alternative therapies. It's really helped me kind of center myself and reground myself to varying degrees. Nothing embarrassing sticks out to my mind. I'm sure if you were interviewing them, they'd be like, you remember when you did this and you did this and you did this?
My girls are good at that. Absolutely. If you could roll the clock back, is there anything you would do differently with raising your daughters?
Just be much more delicate with them. Because of that liberal slant that they kind of came into the relationship with, and I'll share this. One of them at one point in time expressed that she was not concerned, that she thought she was a lesbian. And that's very different. And if she had turned out to be a lesbian, we'd love her, and whatever life would look like, it would look like. But I felt like it was very influenced by media and society, and by a cousin who had chosen to be a lesbian in particular. So unfortunately, what I did with that was chose to take a very firm hand in terms of, okay, we have just a couple of years before she goes to college to fix a lot of this wiring that's going on. And so there wasn't a lot of tolerance. And I look back, and she definitely needed them. And even to this day, like just a few days ago, I addressed something that I've addressed before, and I just wasn't in a frame of mind to continue to address it, and I handled it poorly. I still think I'm way too quick to react instead of respond. So yeah.
I understand that. I've been there myself. Do you have any advice for dads who are trying to make parenting daughters work today?
Like work in the workforce, or
no, just to make the whole aspect
relationship work.
Guy trying to raise girls, make it work.
So one, as difficult as it may be, is to take an interest in some of their stuff. Like I abhor shopping, and like my idea of shopping is I need a pair of socks to go in there and get a single pair of socks and get out. I'm not in there to look at the pants and look at the shoes and look at the shirts. And then, there's 17 other stores right next to. There's one store that I needed to go in. Let's go in all 17 of them. I took my family on a shopping trip last year, gave all the girls a set amount that they could spend. And it was not an easy day for me, but they loved it. They loved every second of it. I still talk about it. I still talk about the stuff they get. Just a couple of days ago, Aria was saying, hey, we need to get matching sweatshirts or whatever they got us. So that would be it. So take an interest in their thing, and then let them know that they love them. And not just, like, a lot of guys hear this and they're like, I say it, that's good enough. And I say it, show it, live it. If they're coming into the living room after work or whatever, pause the TV. Like there's almost no one that watches TV now where the pause button doesn't work. Listen to them, engage with them, ask them in a curious way how their day was, not just, okay, let me check the 3 boxes. How was your day? How was work? Any homework? Okay, go to bed, like in a meaningful way. So I try to engage with my children at least once every day in a meaningful way. Even like my doctor, I did a brain scan recently, and getting to sleep at a decent time is very key to my treatment plan. Like it is the most important thing. And if the girls aren't home from work, I won't go to bed. And they work a fast food job, so it closes 9. You get out of there 10:30. So that's one of the things I do, like knowing that they're home safe. I lock the house, like my protective instincts.
That makes sense. It sounds take notice, take interest would be the advice that you would have. Notice what they're doing, take an interest in what they're doing, and through that, they feel love. So that's
right.
How can people connect with you?
Anthony Woolever, first and last name on Facebook. I think that's my Instagram handle.
Okay.
I need to get my website finished. I do have a website, just anthonywoolever.com, but it's not finished. I'm making sure that is my username on Facebook or Instagram. I'm almost positive it is. Yeah, Anthony.Woolever on Instagram as well.
Will your website be ready anytime soon?
Definitely not before the beginning of June. No.
Okay. Super. Thank you for sharing your story with me today. I really appreciate it. I know you hit a lot of things. You have bonus daughters. You had a young child with a huge age gap between the other ones, divorced families and things like that. So you're making it work despite all these obstacles. And I appreciate you sharing the struggles and the successes with me today.
Thank you very much.
Anthony Woolever brings a lot of hard-earned wisdom to the table as a dad of daughters. One of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is the importance of showing up consistently. He said being a girl dad doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as asking about your daughter's day and truly listening. He also emphasized encouraging curiosity, asking questions, and helping daughters to develop critical thinking skills and how it prepares them for real life far better than trying to control every outcome. Another powerful lesson is letting daughters experience independence while still providing guidance. Anthony talked about giving them just enough rope to learn from their decisions while making sure they understand any consequences before they make them. Most importantly, he reinforced the value of expressing love, saying I love you by showing it through actions, words, and taking an interest in what matters to your daughters builds confidence and strengthens your relationship over time. If you want to connect with Anthony, you can find him on Facebook and Instagram. He also has a website at anthonywoolever.com, which he's continuing to develop. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dodo Dads Podcast. If you found it helpful, please share it with another dad who's raising daughters and trying to figure it out just like the rest of us. That's all for this week's show. If you're a girl dad who has some great advice for fathers, I welcome the opportunity to interview you for an episode of the Dodo Dads Podcast. Send a message to greg@dododads.com, and I'll be happy to give you more information. Thank you for listening.